This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live, coming to you from Palm Beach, and but with its eyes very, very much directed to New York, Virginia, and New Jersey, where three very important elections will take place tomorrow. We were just on the line with Curtis Sliwa and his supporters in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, who are going out and trying to pick up the last group of votes. I'm gonna show you how, although it is a long shot, it is not impossible that this could work out for Curtis. But we would have to say, in the interest of being perfectly giving you the most accurate information, if the polls are correct, then Mondami wins. Of course, there are many elections where if at this point I told you if the polls were correct, well, Hillary Clinton would be president, right? Or Al Gore would be president. Or David Dinkins would have won a second term. So polls are helpful. They help you make strategic decisions about where to campaign, how to campaign. They will help tomorrow very, very much in interpreting the early returns to see does the, for example, in 2004, in that election, that was Bush against Gore. I was very, very active for President Bush. And all of the polls had Gore winning, the exit polls. And on the day of the election, they had him winning. Then you get a second exit poll around 2, and they had him winning again, and they had an exit poll at 6, and they had him winning again. And I was on NBC television with Tom Brokaw and with Senator Ted Kennedy, and I was just like ignored completely because they had all assumed that Kerry, was going to win. And they were talking about, who do you think he'll make Secretary of State? And who do you think he'll make National Security Advisor? So I just said, well, how about me? And they said, well, we think that's very unlikely. And I said, I think what you're talking about is very unlikely because I think your polls are fakakta. They're too big. They're too way out. And they said, well, these are even Fox has him winning. I didn't know how they knew the Fox internal poll. I did, but they did. So I next went over to Fox and I saw Rupert Murdoch and Roger Ailes, who ran Fox then, and they were very, very down. And they said to me, I don't see how he can make it. I said, I don't know. This doesn't fit with what I was seeing on the campaign. It just doesn't. There's something really, really wrong here. And my chief of staff, Tony Carbonetti, who is pretty close to a political genius, and maybe he probably is, he comes running over to me as soon as the Pennsylvania vote comes in. And Kerry is winning Pennsylvania. But he's winning it by like 2, 3, 4%, not 12. Poll had him ahead by 12. And then he took a look at some of the other states, like even New York. And these are states he's winning, right? But the margin was like 30, 40% less than the margin all of the polls had given him. He said, well, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen when we get to the close states, if this is true of the polling? I said, well, I think we know what's going to happen. And by the end of the night, or the early the next morning, but it really was at the end of the night, Bush was the president of the United States, and the polls were really wrong, really, really wrong. Not the only time. So in New York, the candidate is one for the ages. Hopefully never again will there be a candidate like this in America. He is an avowed communist. He takes the positions of a very, very strict communist. Government ownership of grocery stores, free buses, basically the child is the creature of the state. The parent has literally nothing to say about the child, even about their gender, for that matter. Abortion up until the moment of birth, and then a little grace period thereafter, like Tampon Tim gives them in Minnesota, who, to me, unless he can prove something different about all those trips to China, is a creature of Red China. This guy is a strange combination, and he's the worst of both worlds. He's a communist and he's an Islamic extremist. He associates himself not with the decent people in the Islamic community, the Muslim community, the neutral people, or the decent people. His associations are all with the terrorists. The imam that he calls the most influential in New York or America is a foreign security threat to the United States of America, has been involved as a co-conspirator in the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, as a close associate of the blind sheikh who specialized in killing Americans, as a defender of the September 11 attack on New York and the October 7 attack on Israel, as a massive, horrible anti-Semite. I mean, hatred of the Jewish people that turns your stomach. And Mondami loves him, as he does Linda Sarsour, who probably is the biggest anti-Semite walking around Washington. She's a lobbyist for all of the Jew-hating organizations that exist. And this is what he surrounds himself with. He's made it clear and reiterated the fact that he's going to arrest Bibi Netanyahu when he comes to New York, which of course tells you how much he hates the Jewish people, but it also tells you how foolish, silly, stupid, ignorant he is, or he thinks you are, because he can't arrest him. The charge against Bibi Netanyahu is brought by a court that we don't recognize. So there is no charge. What's he going to arrest him on? Whatever that court charged him with doesn't give him probable cause to arrest. And even the mayor has to have probable cause to arrest. Mayors just can't arrest people unless it's one of the types of countries that he seems to admire, an Islamic extremist country or a communist country. So that will tell you, even when he makes decisions off the cuff, you get to see a little of his soul, and it's a black one. It's a communist Islamic extremist. Obama talked to him, correct? But didn't endorse him.
No Obama endorsement for Mamdani.
And he was over across
Obama.
He was over across the river for the
New Jersey,
for the cheating naval cadet. The naval cadet who cheated her way through the Naval Academy was held back for getting into the Navy for a whole year because she was a big cheater. Refuses to release her records to find out precisely what was involved, and her not being allowed to graduate, and why did it take so long? How serious was her cheating? And then finally lied her backside off when she said, "Oh, I wasn't allowed to graduate with my class because I didn't rat on my friends." And then it turned out a week later, it came out that she had actually gone in and been questioned. And she said, "Well, I told the whole truth and nothing but the truth," which means she ratted on her friends. So even if you're of that mentality in New Jersey, you know, a lot of people in New Jersey probably don't like rats. So
I can.
She was both for and against Charlie Kirk. She voted a very nice statement of tribute to him, and then came back at a rally and talked about what a traitor he was to the United States. She wants to basically do even more to destroy the economics of New Jersey, if that's possible. Murphy did one hell of a job of destroying your state. The real question is who will win in the flight category, her or the Islamic extremist communist in New York. And by the way, her views aren't so totally different than the communist Islamic extremist jerk in New York. She's very left wing. She has no plan for the schools other than to allow the teachers union that have done a pretty good job of destroying public schools students, not just by keeping them out of school for an extra year, but I don't know how they got hurt so much being out of school an extra year when they are in school. That's when they really get hurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, their educational scores have gone down in New York and New Jersey pretty much consistently for the last 10 years. As both states just spend more money and more money and more money. And why do you think that is? Because the teachers union takes it for themselves. And they make people bureaucrats, not teachers. So they can make their union bigger. It's the same reason the Democrats let illegal aliens in. So they can have voters. Who the hell would vote for them? So Obama avoided Mamdani. Wow. From one communist to another. Woo.
That's something.
The turnout so far, given the early voting, looks like a record turnout.
Right.
And that could help Cuomo, or it could create a miracle for Curtis, which I'll show you in a minute.
Right. Well, Mayor, speaking of New York, we are just a minute away from a very special guest. We're going to have on the show in just a minute, Dennis Michael Lynch. And I don't even know where to start. He's got quite the resume and track record. Of course, he's the host of the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast. Our audience would love to know the fact that this is the man who actually discovered and named the duo Diamond and Silk. He introduced them.
Aren't they wonderful?
He's the one who introduced them to the Trump campaign.
Is that right? Well, God bless him. That was a great introduction.
And of course, people know him from Fox, Newsmax. He's been all over. But before media, he actually co-founded a New York City consulting firm with John Scully, the former CEO of Apple and Pepsi. Mm-hmm. He's the winner of the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award for e-business. That's in the year 2000. So that's right when e-business was getting.
Yes,
that was the beginning of e-business. So that's a big deal. And of course, Mayor, he's a survivor of September 11th, fleeing the first collapsing tower. So, without further ado, we have for the first time on America's Mayor Live, the one, the only, Dennis Michael Lynch.
Dennis, how are you? There he is. If you could do a little something with that camera, I'll be able to see him, Ted.
That's right. That's right. So we got him on now. So let's see if we can't. We got to figure out the mic issues here. So we'll work on
we don't
that.
hear him? We're not hearing him?
Cannot hear him.
Can you hear us?
Well, we got him on. He can hear us. We just got to hear him.
Oh, well, yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So we're going to keep Dennis there while we work
while we're
on
doing
his
that,
audio.
I will also tell you that the Queen's Party, which is run by Representative Gregory Meeks, is not endorsing Mamdani.
Is not.
And according to the people that were interviewed there, he might not have been able, if Meeks had tried to get the endorsement for Mamdani, they do not think that the people of Queens are going to vote for a socialist. Now, of course, Cuomo did come from Queens, so that could be somewhat of the pushback. But he came from Queens, but he's a long time ago. I mean, it isn't as if he maintained close connections with them. I would say that is more of a reaction of what's left of a somewhat more conservative Democratic base. Queens was always the Democratic borough that was the best for me. And then Staten Island, of course, but Queens, then Brooklyn, then Manhattan, and finally the Bronx was the toughest. So Queens has a lot of Democrats that think Republican. I'm a little disappointed to report that we're talking about taking 1,000 troops out of Romania. we have about 85,000 troops on the European continent, and I think we need them there.
Dennis. We're still working on Dennis here.
Particularly with Putin's ambitions. I think it's a mistake to be taking troops out of Europe, even particularly that close to. Well, I don't know if you would not consider Romania Eastern Europe, but still, it was under the influence of the Soviet Union at one time. Jeffries supported Mondami, but he did it begrudgingly. He did it in late October, dragging his feet since June. Schumer hasn't at all, as Obama hasn't. And Tom Suozzi, Laura Gillen, and Dan Goldman haven't supported him. So it'd be very, very strange. I mean, he has tremendous number of senior Democrats who have not endorsed him. They have, of course, not have the guts to say anything against him. The Post did an editorial with 8 reasons not to vote for him. He hates the police. 2, he really hates the police. Right. Number 3, he hates the police with a splash of anti-Semitism. 4, his mental health plan is half-baked. 5, promises a bus boondoggle. 6, he never met a failed idea he didn't like. 7, he wants to globalize the Intifada. That's to go kill Jews all over the world. Number 8, he'll cause an international incident. Yeah, no doubt about it if he tries to arrest Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And he sides with 8. And that is that portion of the Quran.
Well, we've got Dennis. We can hear him, but we're going to give him a second here to get situated.
Okay.
He'll give us the thumbs up on the screen when he's ready for us to put him on. Looks like he's ready. So let's bring on. Oh, man, we could go through his resume all night, but let's just get right to the man. Dennis Michael Lynch.
Mayor, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Dennis, loud and clear.
You know, one of the things that your producer, Ted, left out there is, I don't know if you remember it or not, but John Rowland and I were in your office, and you were in my film, They Come to America 2. Do you remember that?
Which film, like Dennis?
So, Mayor, do you remember? So, John Rowland and I came into your office. And
I do remember. I do remember. Now that I saw your face.
And then Hannity gave me a full hour for that film.
Yes, I do remember it.
Yeah. So, you know, our friends John Rowland and Bernie Carrick are probably watching tonight and saying, why can't you guys get their audio done right?
Yeah. Well, you look great.
So do you. I don't think either one of us has aged one bit in 12 years.
Well, we can believe that. It's much nicer to believe that than not, right?
Absolutely.
So what where are you in New York right now?
No, you know what? I moved to Florida when it was COVID.
Me too.
Right? Well, yeah. I mean, what they did to you, you know, Mayor, I have my own podcast and I've talked about what they've done to you a gazillion times over. And I want to just say before we get into our conversation about what's happening in New York City, I just want to say thank you for being as resilient and tough and brave as you were. I mean, what they've done to you is just absolutely insane. The fact that you survived it all and you got a smile on your face and you're here doing your thing, you're one of the great Americans.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So let me just take the stage here for a second because I've been watching your show for the last hour. I got to tell you, I think you missed your calling in life. You've been doing this on Fox News, but you know, there's one big thing that nobody has talked about, and I've been talking about every single day about why it is that somebody like Curtis cannot win like you won. Aside from the fact that I just think you were a much better candidate, and I'm not kissing your ass, I'm just saying how it is. But, you know, since you've been mayor, there have been almost 500,000 legal immigrants brought into New York City. So when you look at the polls, if you rip out the foreigners who are now in New York City, if you just look at the foreign born, Mondami is doing horrible. When you put in the foreign born, he's at 67%. So that's where it is. And it has always been my contention that we're taking in far too many legal immigrants. Everybody was looking at the border, you know, Mayor, And when you look at how many people we're taking in per year, 1.2 million. Do you remember? I know you remember I Love Lucy?
Sure.
Do you remember when I Love Lucy was sitting at the chocolate conveyor and they were going slow and she was coming and she was wrapping them, and then they started turning the conveyor on and she was sticking them in the mouth and sticking them in the purse and everything else like that. And it was getting so sloppy. That's our immigration system.
Yeah.
We're not vetting people correctly. And this is why the situation that we're in, I'm not surprised at all.
How many of the illegals do you think are voting? I mean, in New York, I mean, some states, it's unbelievable how many are voting.
There's no doubt, Mayor, that the illegals are going to play a role. But I really do believe it is the mass immigration that we're taking in legally. You know, nobody ever asked for 1.2 million legal immigrants every single year coming into this country. They're coming in, and look what they're doing. You know, they're voting for what it is that he's standing for, which is, as far as I'm concerned, you've said it tonight 50 times, Islamic extremism. They think that you're horrible, I'm horrible. They say they want to take the city over. This is, Mayor, you may recall this. I mean, being a prosecutor, you got to remember. You remember the Holy Land Foundation?
Of course I do. Yeah, okay. Sure.
Do you remember what the FBI discovered when they were doing their raids? Yes. They found the documentation from the Muslim Brotherhood, and they said the way to take over America is from within. And it was take over the schools, take over the businesses, take over the media, and take over the government. And now take a look what we got right now. We're about to lose the biggest city in the United States, let alone the biggest city in the world, to a Muslim extremist. And when you look over in Minnesota, right, Minneapolis, we may have the same situation there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
What is happening is their game plan, Mayor, it's metastasizing. And we have more people in America who are worried about who's winning Dancing with the Stars than who's representing them in Congress. And so this is a big, huge problem. I really wish President Trump would just stop legal immigration into this country until we can catch our breath, make sure that everybody in America is living the American dream, and then reach out to the rest of the world and try to help them. But right now, we've got to start focusing on home because we've got too many problems. We got all these people coming in and we can't afford it.
Yeah, our immigration should also be based on merit. Should be based on the people we need, not the people who want to come here. I mean, everybody wants to come here. So now you have to have a fair principle on which to decide, and it should be for our benefit. So immigration used to, if not scientifically, but basically we brought in people that we needed, and we brought in people who were extraordinarily in love with us.
Yes.
You think of the immigration starting in about the 1850 through 1920. Mm-hmm. I mean, people coming in were not, I mean, they were people that they probably thought we were even better than we were, you know, streets paved with gold, and compared to where they came from, we were. Now these people come in and they're being brought in by criminals to a very large extent. They come into areas where they have a chip on their shoulder about America. They hate America. I mean, I can't find anything in the Democratic Party where they ever say we love America or America's wonderful, or where we were horrible slave traders. We just put people in prison for no reason at all. We screw up the education of young people. We don't let women have all the abortions they want to have. Everything's wrong with us.
Well, you know, Mayor, if you take a look at the Democrat Party right now, they have no leader, right? Barack Obama, his star is fading. They've got absolutely no leadership. And I think when you look at people like Mandami, when you look at Ilhan Omar, when you look at CARE, what they're seeing is a splintered Democrat Party. And so what they're doing is they're taking advantage because they see a gap, and they're filling that gap with a lot of propaganda, as you were saying earlier. We're going to give you free this, and we're going to give you free that. And, you know, when you're sitting there and you're an immigrant who just came over with barely any money.
Yeah, of course.
Or when you're a youngster and you can't afford an apartment in New York City, what are you going to do? You're going to vote for the free stuff. And they're taking advantage of it, something terrible. And we're losing our country slowly but surely because of it.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it and you look at Europe, right? England. I was talking to an English man the other day, and I said, from what I see, you could be an Islamic country in 10 years. And I thought he was going to say, oh, no. He said, oh, maybe less.
You know what happens, Mayor?
Maybe less.
Mayor, look, if you take a look at they call him the Muslim mayor over in London, right? Khan.
He's been there a while now, so he's been able to do a lot of damage.
Since 2016, let me tell you what some of the damage is, because obviously I specialize in this stuff. So since he's taken office, violent crime is up by 30%, okay? The number of mosques have increased from 162 to about 200, and there are 100 less churches than there was. So what you're seeing is the dynamic change. You're seeing a favoritism to the Islamic religion, to the Islamic extremism. You've got people being put into jail. You and I would, for this show, for the show that you've just done, and the show that I'm into, we would be in jail, Mayor.
Yes.
Okay? In the last couple of years, listen to this one. In the last couple of years, since Mayor Khan, working with the parliament, has put together this whole thing about online hate and trying to stop hatred, over 3,000 arrests for people who have written anti-Muslim rhetoric, only 20 arrests for people who have written anti-Christian. So think about the disbalance there. Now, when you look at that, and now you look at New York will be London in a matter of time. And the thing that scares me the most about tomorrow night, unless there's a modern miracle, is that the Muslim world is going to take a look at New York City and say, look what we were just able to accomplish. We got the hardest city in the world. The rest of them are going to be easy. They're not going to stop. They're only going to hit the gas pedal, Mayor, and we're going to have ourselves a major, major challenge.
I can't disagree with you. I agree with you completely. I think they, in a way, they went for the top right away.
Yes.
But in many ways, not right away. They've been at this a long time. They've been infiltrating for quite some time. And this is their breakthrough. The same thing could happen theoretically in Los Angeles if they had the right candidate.
Oh, and they will. They'll find it sooner or later.
Right.
The one thing about them that is, and you and I talked about this 13 years ago in my film. I know you don't remember it, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. So with that being said, one of the things that I said to you when we were in the room together, because I had asked you, I said, Mayor, why do you think it is that we haven't had another 9/11? And your answer to me was that, that's very hard to beat. They want to beat what they did the last time. And I said to you, well, I'm going to push back a little bit, because I think what they're going to do is these little tiny attacks. They're going to attack us right in the heart. And unlike the American citizen who gets pissed off when he's waiting 5 minutes too long for his Happy Meal at McDonald's, right? These Islamics will wait and wait and wait decades to be able to get what they want. And they want what's called civil jihad. They want to take over our civilization. They want everything to be jihadi. And right now, you've got to give it to them. Their plan is unbelievably working.
Yes, yeah. And the fact that they haven't done a lot of they've done some, but the fact they haven't done a lot of violence is actually smart, because if they started doing a lot of violence, we'd start paying a lot more attention.
That's right.
This is a very
question for you.
They eventually will.
Let me ask you a question.
They have more control.
I want to interview with you because you would know this better than me. So one of the things that Madami is talking about doing is he wants to get rid of the part of the NYPD that has the counterterrorism unit. So you know about this. If he gets rid of that unit, or even takes that down a bit from where it is, let's say he takes it from a 10 to a 5, how dangerous is that for the city of New York?
It's like committing suicide.
It is.
I mean, it's the reason that counterterrorism unit, which really was built by Kelly after. I mean, we had it, but it was he made it into a world-class organization. Had to stop a dozen that you would never have heard about.
I remember, back
and about 3 or 4 that we do know about.
A couple of times I went out to dinner with Bernie Kerik, and I asked him what it was like to try to manage that. And he said, Dennis, there was not a day that went by when we didn't get a threat. And
he's right.
Yeah.
And before September 11, people don't realize this, but I was living under the threat of terrorist attack. Oh, really? From the day I came into office. Remember, the 1993 attack took place in the winter of the year that I was elected. So from the day I walked in, I was obsessed with terrorism. I developed the first mayor's office of anti-terrorism, and so that we could study them, understand them, because we really didn't understand them. By the time they attacked us on September 11, a lot of people had no idea who was attacking us. We knew exactly who attacked us.
Yep.
Because and we had a very close relationship with the FBI then. One of my former assistants, Louis Freeh, was the head of the FBI. They trusted my police commissioners tremendously and used them. So even with all that, we got attacked.
Yep.
But we were able to react to it, so we didn't have further attacks. If it happened now, they'd have attacks all over the country.
I'm going to remind you of something that you said to me during my movie again. And I tell you there that this one thing that you said here, I use it all the time. Anybody who follows me, all the millions of people on Facebook know I always say, this is what Rudy Giuliani said to me when I interviewed him. I said to you, why is it so hard to stop these terrorists? And here was your answer to me. You said, when I was a prosecutor, we went after the mafia. And although I wasn't a criminal, I could put my mind into the mind of the criminal because there's only a certain amount of ways, right? Hey, come on. Do I have a good memory or what?
No, I remember it now that you say that, sure.
You said to me, there's only a certain amount of ways that you can chop up a car and get rid of its parts, or take bet money in and launder money, or chop up a body and get rid of the parts. And I can figure that out. But when you talk about getting a jihadist who is willing to kill innocent people and then die themselves on the idea that they're going up to heaven and going to get all these virgins, it's impossible to take a rational brain and put it into an irrational person and try to guess what they're going to do next. And that statement has always lived with me, because I think this is one of the things that we as a nation don't recognize, unless it's somebody like you or somebody like me, who are proficient in this. The majority of Americans, they're just living hoping that we're going to protect them. And when you put somebody in like Mindani, who is going to eliminate many of the parts of the police department that need to protect people, I think the days of waiting for that next 9/11 or an October 7 of a kind, I fear that that's right on the cusp of happening, sir.
Well, Dennis, you're absolutely right. We're going to have to be back in touch a lot. You're really terrific. We're going to have you on as much as you can stand. But I'll make this other point. Another reason they don't attack us is we're a hard target.
In what sense?
Well, they don't like to fail. So you know how we have we have so much security for the World Series, the Super Bowl. We used to have a lot of security and a lot of threats for the New Year's Eve celebration. Mm-hmm. Never an attack, but you still have to prepare. But I'm also pretty sure they won't, because they don't want to fail. Failure to them, it reverses all the work they did. What they want to do is make themselves look impregnable to you. Like, we can't stop them. We may be richer, we may be bigger, but they are a lot shrewder, a lot more vicious. So they go after big targets, but soft ones you wouldn't think of. So you take New York and you make New York more inviting. I mean, New York is a tough place right now. And I would say probably not as tough as it was like 5-6 years ago, but a tough place to really attack. They can do it. You can't be right 100% of the time, but probably we're one of the tougher places to attack. You take that group down, you start bringing social workers in. Oh my goodness. Well, Dennis, we'll be on top of this again. We'll talk after the election's over, because then we'll have something to focus on and see what the heck is going to happen.
It's an honor.
It's been great to see you again, and God bless you. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you, pal.
Wasn't that was really very interesting? Well, should we take a short break?
Well, that was a great interview.
We could take a short break, but how about, I don't want to keep our other guests waiting.
Good. Then
we have a very...
Did we take a break already?
Not this hour, so we'll do it right after this next guest. But what I wanted to do instead of taking a break is play a short 2-minute clip.
Go ahead.
This is our next guest. It's going to be Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax.
The hero of the day.
Oh, my goodness. And how many times have we watched this speech? But we're just going to play a short clip. This was Mr. Ruddy at the Republican Jewish Coalition.
God bless him.
And this was, I believe, very recent. And well, listen for yourself. He takes a strong stance and shows what leadership really looks like. This is Chris Ruddy in Las Vegas.
Discovering how many. I was only 19 years old when I first traveled to Israel to study at the Hebrew University. But I was a little shocked as a teenager discovering how many lies there were in the big media about Israel. All these years later, things haven't changed. They've actually gotten worse. The media continues to twist the facts, erase the context, often portray Israel, our lone democratic ally in the Middle East, as the bad guy, as the aggressor. I mean, they get attacked on October 7th and they're the bad guy. People like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have made it their mission to target Israel. All the problems with the world left in America and the world, and they're focused on Israel. You got to wonder what's going on here. They even question its right to defend itself, and they've made statements and taken actions that really undermine Israel's very right to exist. These folks are spreading old lies and anti-Semitic claims like the ones that Jews secretly control America. They control everything. Tucker recently made a post claiming Prime Minister Netanyahu is telling everyone he knows that he controls Donald Trump. He's telling everyone this. With what the source is, I don't know. Well, anyone knows, either Bibi Netanyahu or Donald Trump knows this is just absolutely ridiculous that he would be making such a claim. Today, I just saw a post this morning. I was in Los Angeles before I came here, and I looked at it, claiming that without any source, that on the days that Israel was attacking Iran, Tucker claims he had sources in the Pentagon that Israeli generals and military people were going from room to room in the Pentagon telling the American generals what to do and what they couldn't do. Bizarre, right? At first it seems like a laughable lie, but we cannot ignore it because it's really clever propaganda by Tucker. And it's also anti-Semitism, pure and simple. Don't forget, it's the same lie the Nazis told. The Jews controlled everything. They controlled Britain. They controlled the United States. Now it's being repackaged for a new generation of Americans, amplified by millions of dollars pouring into social media from bad actors around the world. That really needs to be investigated by Congress. Some even claim, as Tucker recently did in another post, that the Bible completely got it wrong. Jews aren't the chosen people of God. Imagine that. He's now a biblical scholar, and he can overturn 2,000 years of Christian and Jewish teachings. Make no mistake about this. This is an information war we're fighting.
And now, without further ado, we're proud to have a good friend of the show, maybe most importantly, but the CEO of the hottest network on TV, by far, the hottest network, not just in news, but across the board. CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy.
Congratulations, Chris. It took a lot of courage to give that speech.
Well, as I was watching it, Rudy, I thought to myself, maybe you know the name of an agent, because I think I should go maybe to Hollywood or something. I think I need an agent.
You do need an agent, but you don't need a speechwriter.
Is Ted Goodman available?
He's right here. Admiring you. It had to be said. It had to be said by somebody who is a 1,000% dedicated supporter of President Trump, like I am and you are, and believe in him, and what he stands for. And I don't understand. When I started seeing this happen, I don't understand it. I don't understand how they've come to this.
Well,
who is there? Somebody behind this? Is there? How about this? How about the statement that he doesn't hate anyone more than Huckabee and Lindsey Graham? I mean, there are a lot of people to hate before you hate Huckabee and Lindsey.
Ted Cruz, if you will look at Tucker's stuff, he's targeting Ted Cruz day and night. Lindsey Graham. Anybody that's a supporter of Israel is being demolished and targeted by Tucker. Now, why he's doing that, I'm not going to question his motive. I think it's Looney Tunes stuff. I
Yeah.
do think that a lot of money coming into social media. I think somebody needs to look at that. I'm not saying that he's taking the money, but I do think when you look at the behavior patterns, they're so bizarre. So let's just go through this. I spoke last Friday night at the Republican Jewish Coalition meeting in Vegas. I was very honored to be invited. And I was going to talk about Newsmax and our growth and our impact. And then last week, the Heritage Foundation president came out in support of Tucker post coddling.
We'll try to fix that. We'll try to get that fixed.
Yeah, so we connected.
I should tell you that the chief of staff of the head of the Heritage Foundation has either left or quit, or and he apparently was one of the. He was making all kinds of statements defending his boss from those people who disagreed with him, and felt that Tucker had put on what was a gross demonstration of classic Jewish hatred and anti-Semitism. I mean, this is a disease that's over 3,000 years old, and to see a guy that you admire, and I admire Tucker, do this is, for me, it's extraordinarily disappointing and worrisome, because he does influence a lot of people. Even watching the interview of the guy Fuentes. Fuentes was sitting on his lap. I mean, that you don't interview like that. He basically let him say anything he wanted to say, just like he did with Putin, if you remember. Putin, he gave him some of the answers. He gave the answers for him. I mean, isn't it terrible? And with Fuentes, the same thing. Isn't it terrible? He said to Fuentes that people like Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Huckabee are so much in love with Israel. Is he interviewing himself? I mean, on my earlier show, I put on a real conservative doing an interview, two interviews that were very controversial at the time, and it was William F. Buckley, and one was of Eldridge Cleaver, and he didn't. Eldridge Cleaver wasn't sitting on his lap. Eldridge Cleaver was knocked on the floor. I mean, he asked him every tough question about going after police, and about dividing America. And then he did the same thing with George Wallace. At the height of George Wallace's racism, he was criticized for giving George Wallace a microphone. But in the true sense of Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, he had a discussion, not a discussion. He ripped him apart. He gave him a chance to answer and gave him a chance to convince people of how unmeritorious his position was. Now, Tucker didn't do that. Tucker was sitting on the same side of the table as they were. He wasn't interviewing them critically. You know, the Jews control the world. Okay, well, show me who is it that controls the world? They control Wall Street. Like hell, Jews never control Wall Street.
I'm back.
There he is. There you are.
I disappeared. I get this text message, Mayor, from Ted Goodman. He says, "Chris, I don't like the way you look. I'm taking you off." He said, "Comb your hair." He said, "Comb your hair." So I combed my hair. I'm fully
You
back.
look much better, Ted.
Much better.
Yeah,
Thank
all
you,
those
Ted.
women came back. We had lost like a big chunk of.
I know. This.
The only way we get the women back, we put Ted on. Yeah.
Well,
You know, they call me a chick magnet, and now I know why. I combed my hair. But you know, it's just I was saying about Tucker. It's what really is shocking. It's not like Tucker has every right to say what he wants to say. I disagree with it. I think it's Looney Tunes. But you know, I've seen it all, like what he's been posting. But when the head of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, offered a video supporting Tucker's interview with Nick Fuentes, coddling him and saying that he was a good guy, a close friend, and that criticizing critics like us of this stuff Fuentes is putting out. This is a guy saying there was no Holocaust. He has said vicious things like he'd like to piss on the Talmud, a holy book for Jews, and that they can get the F out of this country. I mean, these are things just extreme. Kevin Roberts was defending this guy. And I think that was a turning point for me. And I felt that I should change my speech and talk about the growing anti Semitism on the right. And that's why I made it a focus. And I think there's a lot of people now really concerned what's going on.
Well, I think it's good that you get at it right at the very beginning. You know, the whole problem. I think one of the things that's one of the classic things you learn from the Holocaust is you got to jump on top of anti-Semitism as soon as it rears its ugly head.
And then people think, you know, like, hey, I'm not Jewish. What do I care? But I'm Catholic. You're Catholic. But, you know, we understand when they come for the Jews, they're going to, when Hitler rolled into Poland, the first thing he didn't round up Jews. You know, he rounded up were Catholic priests.
Yeah.
And he killed thousands of them. They murdered thousands of them. And so, you know, and he had obviously gone after the Jews in Germany, and they were part of the game plan in Poland. So we're all in this together, and they don't like Judeo-Christian values. They don't like the and the fact that, you know, many people believe Israel is a sister democracy, but has a biblical founding that many Christians agree with, and that's real. That's very real.
It is real. And also, you know, you look at what's going on. You look at what's going on in Africa, which they are described constantly as wars, and most people just generally think they're civil wars. Those are almost all Muslims trying to exterminate Christians, almost every single one of them, including Nigeria, the one the president has noted. But there are about five more of those.
All over Sudan, and massacres of Christians. Where's Tucker Carlson? He blames, if you listen to his videos, and Bibi Netanyahu's the cause of all the evil in the world. Netanyahu isn't going in. They're not murdering innocent people. They were attacked. Gaza was given basically sovereignty. They never did anything, the Israelis. They were allowed to build their own society. And instead, they built tunnels and planned to kill Jews, and they did on October 7th. And Israel responded. And when they responded, well, they're murdering innocent, they went out of great lengths not to kill civilians, unlike these jihadists. They don't care. They murder, they rape, murder, torture. And these are facts. And so there's a new history being written for a lot of younger people. On the left, we know the progressive left. We're seeing it with Mamdani, what's resulting. And he's a guy he calls for the globalization of the Intifada. The Intifada is a violent terrorist movement.
Well, you know, the also thing he ignores what Putin is doing. I mean, Putin for the last 4 or 5 months, as he's been marking time, has really been largely hitting only civilian targets. He can't breach the wall they have in Donetsk.
The audio seems to have gone here. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah. But I mean, the other his recent attacks have been Lviv, Kiev, Kherson, and you look at it, he's hitting apartment buildings and hospitals, and he's basically his target.
The audio seems to have gone again. Ted?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Well, we'll try to get him back on here. Maybe he just needs to hop out and back in, but we can see.
But I think the point that Chris was making is absolutely excellent, and it really does point out the hypocrisy of Tucker, because the guy he treated with kid gloves. I'm saying the guy that he treated with kid gloves, Putin, is killing more civilians than the Israelis killed. And on purpose, he hits apartment buildings. He hits hospitals. You're not going to kill. You're not going to kill the military in Lviv. In fact, you might risk hitting Poland.
Well, look, it was an unprovoked attack on Ukraine, right? They did nothing to antagonize, or they didn't invade. Putin said he wanted it, violated various treaties and agreements the Russians had previously signed. And people like Tucker will say, well, NATO was Ukraine was not in the process to be in NATO. Putin said he wouldn't allow it. Okay, but they weren't even in the process. So then what was the reason? And when Tucker interviews Putin, that interview, which by the way, Putin the next day was asked by the press, and he ridiculed Tucker for giving a softball interview. He said he didn't ask me one hard question. It was sort of like it was a joke.
Yeah, it
But
was.
Tucker says, "Why did you do this war?" And Putin says, "Well, let's start in 892 A.D. when the Rus people
Yeah,
left." I mean, this is someone really off his rocker, right? He's going to start talking about a modern war. What happened? And we don't talk about what happens in this country with Christopher Columbus discovering America in
right.
1492. What caused World War II? You wouldn't start there, but it shows you the guy's off his rocker. But he's giving. I thought the Wall Street Journal today has a very powerful article, an editorial, condemning Kevin Roberts and the Heritage Foundation for coddling Tucker and Nick Fuentes, and they go into the lies and the dissimulations and
Mhm.
all of that. We have stories up on Newsmax.com today
Right.
detailing what Moore Klein and other Jewish leaders are saying. They're outraged. They're calling for the resignation of Kevin Roberts. I think it's a turning point. Either we're going to decide to stand for sanity and the values we care about, or we're going to go side with the crazies. And the Heritage Foundation, which used to be the gold standard,
Hard to believe. I mean, Tucker's one individual. Anything can happen to one individual. He can even, woo, but an organization like that, it just shouldn't happen.
and you're admired, Mayor, by Jewish people all over the world because you have stood with them and you understand they're under attack and that they have tried peace and peace and peace, and every time they're being rejected. They say the two-state solution. They originally accepted it was 5 Arab armies wouldn't allow it and invaded them the next day after the 1948 resolution.
Well,
So
I've been involved in this since the mid 1980s. That's when I first met Bibi, and a lot of the young ministers, Ehud Olmert, him, and I also handled two cases having two Nazi war criminals sent to justice in Finland and in Latvia.
yeah,
And
no, you've been fighting on these
one
things.
one of them was very controversial because some people in the Reagan administration opposed it. And they opposed it because he had gotten a trial in absentia and said it wasn't fair that he had a trial in absentia. So we tried him in the United States and convicted him of killing 20,000 Jewish people and sent them off to be executed.
Look, I believe Bibi Netanyahu is the Churchill of our time. The
I
fact he
call him
took
that all the time. Yeah.
and the Iran, I mean, he took on Iran. I mean, nobody had the guts to do it. And they were very close. Tucker says they weren't. I mean, even the UN agency said they were weeks within of getting the nuclear material. And then a little while later, they would have had a bomb. They certainly would have had a dirty nuke. These are dangerous people. They have threatened to destroy Israel. They've openly
And
said
they
that.
killed me twice.
Yeah, I mean,
Not only did they threaten to kill me, they sent people to kill me. One was stopped one was stopped in Albania, and then the other was stopped on the border of France. The first one was just me and Mrs. Rajavi, and the second one was me and Speaker Gingrich and Mike Mukasey, who were at a conference in Paris, and some of them are in prison, and some of them have been given back to Iran.
Well, imagine these people with a nuclear warhead. And, they say America's the great thing. They made no bones about it. Tucker was wrong. He said that if President Trump did this, we'd have world war. It would destroy America, all these things. Now, all of those things did not come to pass. Their nuclear program was destroyed or at least set back for a long time. I think the world owes a debt of gratitude to Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump for standing with Israel. And the polling data shows, this is not like 80% of Republicans supported the attack and President Trump's attack on Iran. 84% of MAGA Republicans. So when people say to me, well, Tucker's so, he's influential, among who? Like,
Yeah.
had he not existed, those poll numbers would have been the same. Overwhelming support for the president. But there is people on the internet that obviously are listening to him and following him.
Yeah.
And it could be 5% of the universe out there, 3%. It still adds up to millions of people, and it's a dangerous phenomena. But again, it's a free country. He's allowed. I'm not calling for him to be deplatformed. I didn't like being deplatformed and
Oh, I
censored.
didn't either.
So I'm not calling for that, but I am calling for groups like the Heritage Foundation to not say that they're standing up with him and standing for him. For
Yeah,
what?
yeah. I mean, if he wants
I
to
mean-
say that, as long as we have our opportunity to expose him and lay it out for the public, let them make a decision.
And I've gotten a lot of comments from people that are heritage donors. They're not donating if Kevin Roberts is going to continue this and continue his role there. I mean, people are saying they're just not going to fund it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much, Chris. We really appreciate what you did for. I think it distinguishes us from the Democrats too. I mean, we've gone through 7 or 8 years of the Democrats having all these anti-Semitic, horrible things said, and Chuck Schumer, was living in turning on his own people, living in a basement, afraid to say anything.
Look at all the coddling they're doing with Mamdani, and they're endorsing this guy, and he's
Right.
openly calling for things like violent activities and anti-Semitic. He was saying the New York City police are like not laced with the IDF. I mean, it's bad stuff.
Yep, it is. Well, thank you.
All right, Mayor.
Up and you'll get a lot more people now to do it. God bless you.
Yep. Keep looking at Newsmax.
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on.
We have Newsmax on all day while, with the mayor, that's one of his main sources each and every day.
Yeah.
And doesn't he look, and I didn't want to say it with him on at risk of coming off as a brown noser, but he looks really good, Mayor, considering all the travel he's been doing.
Oh, and
we've seen him giving speeches across the world.
Injury with his arm recently.
He had that injury.
Yeah.
But even with that injury, I've seen him going, I've seen him in the office, and I mean, he reminds me of you a little, right? I mean, you had that injury, both of you guys. You don't stop working. I mean, so I want to say that after he was on, though.
Well, he's absolutely 100% right. But it's really important that a person with his standing and prestige and credentials as a not just as a conservative, but as a Trump, he's very close to the president. Mm-hmm. Stood up and said this because it shows that we can do what the Democrat Party can't do. We are not a semi or completely communist organization like they are. Where the best we can get out of Schumer and Obama is they're not going to endorse the communist.
Right.
That would be as if you asked me about Tucker Carlson. I said I haven't got nothing to say about it. I'm gonna excuse me. Excuse me.
Right.
Excuse me.
Exactly.
I'm Chuck Schumer. I'm afraid.
That's right. We don't. That's not how we operate around here.
So let's see what we have to cover. So we get people over to see Dr. Maria tonight because she's on tonight, and then tomorrow we want to save our voice because we're going to be on for a long time tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who knows what time we'll start? We'll certainly start by 7, possibly earlier, and we'll just keep going. And we're going to have people on that are that will be able to tell us from the ground what's going on.
Right.
In 3 places. We'll cover a few more too as they come up, but the main one's obviously New York, where you do have a chance. Got a whiteboard, Ted, that I can use for a minute. Just a good old one of those whiteboards right over there. I'm going to show you something. This is what I wanted to show you before, and then we'll sign off. The Dems. The Dems are so divided, it's unbelievable. So what was it? Give me roughly, we don't have to be exactly correct, but give me roughly what the numbers were in the last poll. It was like 41 for Mamdani and
the one that had Cuomo within.
Yeah.
Within 4 points?
Yeah.
So what we are seeing here in the latest poll, the latest polling. So I want to get this right here. The latest polls are telling us. Let's see. The latest one that we want to use here. I mean, these are the averages.
Okay. What
polling averages
Not looking good. Mamdani 45, Cuomo 31.
No, there was one closer than that. There was one closer than that. There's one where Cuomo was within 6 points.
Yep, I'm trying to find that here.
And Schlewer was up to 20, if I recall correctly.
Right. New poll.
If I recall correctly, it was 41.9. And
40, let's see. It has Mamdani at 43.9%.
okay, 43. That must be it. Okay, 43.9.
Cuomo at 39.4.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yep.
And they have Curtis at 15.5%.
No, they had one with him at 20.
Okay. That's not this one. The one, if it was held today, this is Atlas USA polling. If
Okay.
it was held today.
Let's go 15. Let's go with that. So if there's a 10% drop off from Mamdani, which is not impossible. Remember, I was 12 points behind on a similar poll, and I lost by 1. That's 11 points. I've seen 15 go to 0.
Yeah.
So if Curtis can get himself to about 30, what would he have to get to? About 35%, right? And if he can get himself to about 35% by the two of them taking from each other, he could win. He'd even win at 34. Right?
Right.
So if they were 30, 30, and 30, right?
Right.
That would be 90. Right?
Right.
So if you take if you take Curtis up to 34, right? That would mean that one of them would have to be at 26, and the other one at 30. Right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. 30. 30 and 30. Yep. 4. Yeah. So you could have like 33% for Mamdani, 34% for Curtis. And then the remainder would be, that's 3, 6, 9. The remainder would be for Cuomo. So really, this is a race where if these two drop, the two top ones drop, and Curtis picks up, so they're taking from each other, and the margin of winning gets to be the low 30s, right? The margin of winning gets to be the low 30s. 35 is a very safe. 35 is a very safe number, right?
Right.
Unless one person is going to take a huge chunk of the remaining vote, right?
So the hope is Curtis can get. The hope is, look,
Mamdani, he's got his people from the primary. Maybe he didn't grow too much in the general. Cuomo's going to get, his people, the kind of the old school Democrats that are scared of Mamdani but cannot vote for a Republican.
Right.
And then Curtis needs, this obviously a historic turnout, and he needs a lot of these people that haven't voted in the past 3 to 4 election cycles to come out and vote for Curtis. And if he was able to get his story, his background, who he's been as a man since he was a kid, literally, I think you would agree, this guy's a New Yorker's New Yorker.
Yeah, and I do think this poll is a little strange. That's only about 2 or 3% undecided.
I want to know the background of Atlas US.
I would have to say there's got to be more undecided than that in this race, because there've got to be people. certainly going back and forth on Mandami and slipping off him and going back to him and slipping off him and going back. He's too controversial a candidate for that not to happen, which is always does happen. And the amount of negative information about him, which they haven't had the money to put on the air, but it's been on the air, and it is devastating stuff. Being with an imam who was an unindicted co-conspirator in a terrorist attack on New York, and was a supporter of two major terrorists who attacked New York. Taking advice for Linda Sarsour, who's probably is the best known Jew hater in America, himself saying things that indicate that he hates the Jewish people, wanting to arrest Netanyahu, and then wanting to do things with our economy that you have to be a fool not to realize he's going to ruin it. And it's pretty much ruined already. Well, if the next mayor isn't a genius at improving the economy, New York City is sunk. It'll take longer. Mandami will get it over with real quick. But if you don't revive New York, and you're not reviving New York based on the Adams formula of gambling, legal drugs, and then we add Adams sex for hire. I mean, that's the beginning of 50 years from now. People will say, "Is there really a city here?" I need not mention schools, where he's opposed to any new charter schools, which is the only thing that works. I mean, the kids will get dumber and dumber and dumber, and they can't be much dumber. Less than half are proficient in math, less than half are proficient in English, and they get more money than any school system in the world, twice as much money as I ever gave them, and they're doing 3 times worse. There'll be a city made up of dependent people with not enough people with resources to support them because they'll leave. Let's also remember, were he some kind of a really worthy candidate and really brilliant, he's a kid and he has no experience. Never run a damn thing in his life. I don't think he's ever even sold lemonade. So this is absurd, and it'll also become a source of tremendous ridicule for New York if he becomes the mayor. So stick in there. So people in New Jersey, you've got a fabulous candidate in Citarelli, right?
Right.
And you've got a lying, cheating cadet who lied right up until the very last minute about her being caught cheating in the academy, being held back, first saying she didn't rat on her friends, then saying she did rat on her friends, and refusing to release her records, and also standing for pretty much all the positions that Mandami does. And then Spangler, who's got as her chief law enforcement officer on the ticket a guy who had not just dreams, actually tweeted out that he wanted to kill the top Republican in the state and wanted to kill his children. And when confronted by the person that he was texting, "Are you serious?" he answered yes, he was furious. And then a whole group of other insane statements that he made. And none of them have the courage to take him off the ticket. And he'll be enforcing the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And Spangler, again, is another left-wing Looney Tunes. I mean, there's the state that began the whole thing with children. Basically saying parents should have nothing to do with the education of the kids. After all, the children are the property of the state. Didn't Karl Marx say that?
Yeah.
So
what time should people be tuning in tomorrow, Mayor?
I think you should probably get ready around 6:30.
Yep.
But we may have something for you at 6. Definitely by 7.
By 7, so tune into Lindell TV tomorrow night.
And I did want to spend a little time on Nigeria, because I'm very excited that the president is taking a a really good look at what's been going on for quite some time in Africa, where Christians have been slaughtered. I think I've told over time, I've told you this, that a war in Africa is not a civil war. It's the extremist Muslims killing Christians. It's the Muslims who believe in the same things Mondani does, killing Christians.
Yep.
So make sure you vote tomorrow. And if you have votes in your area, you probably do. Make sure you vote tomorrow, and then tune in, and we'll let you know how it all turned out in this wonderful, wonderful country where we have that right. And pray for those people in Israel and Ukraine and in Iran. Pray for the people of the United States. They're making a big decision tomorrow. Pray for our president. And God spare us again from another revival of this worst of all ethnic, racial hatreds, anti-Semitism. I thought we were beyond it. But I guess the workings of the devil just never stop, huh? So pray for the Jewish people. They've been through more than any other group of people in terms of thousands and thousands of years of irrational hatred. And now it's being repeated by people that I respected, and you probably did too. But that doesn't matter. You got to stand up for what you believe in, no matter what. And I am so proud of Chris Ruddy and the people who have stood up.
Right.
Even the Wall Street Journal, and you know how I love to pick on the Wall Street Journal when they don't say all the right things about the president.
Oh yeah, they were right on this one. It appears.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Go over right now. Lindell TV. Dr. Maria, I'm putting it on right now. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze.